Hi, and welcome to Recovered, Interviews with Alcoholics, a podcast from the Magdalen House, a recovery community for alcoholism. We are a 501c3 nonprofit organization based in Dallas, Texas, and known affectionately by many as Maggies. Every first and third Wednesday, we share an episode from one of our 3 podcast series. In the Recovered series, a recovered alcoholic active in our community shares experience from their recovery journey as they work the 12 steps to achieve sobriety and sustain recovery. With your host, me, Laura Wilson, recovered alcoholic and communications coordinator at the Magdalen House. Whether you're in recovery yourself, contemplating giving it a try, curious about sobriety, or supporting someone who is, we are so glad you're here. Thanks for listening. Hello, podcast listeners, and welcome to this week's episode of Recovered, Interviews with Alcoholics. My name is Laura Wilson, and I am the communications coordinator here at the Magdalen House. And today, I'm so excited for our guest. I have Craig Ellis on. And Craig is our first male to have gone through the men's house and is now a staff member. So Craig, welcome. I'm so excited to have you here today.
Happy to be here.
Good. I'm so excited to hear your story. I feel like you are a man of many hats. So tell me a little bit about how you got into recovery. What did your step 1 look like?
When I was a teenager, something very traumatic happened to me and my family, and I wasn't equipped to deal with it in any way, and but found ease and comfort in my parents' liquor cabinet. And for about 45 years, every time I felt uncomfortable in my life, and then later, even when I was comfortable, I would always go to alcohol for that ease and comfort. And I lived an amazing life, and for me, it was a slow burn. It wasn't like I burned the house down in just a few years. It took about 45 years for me to realize that that I'm an alcoholic, and I knew that I had a problem for a very long time, but I wasn't ready to admit it, and until finally I had to, because I was desperate.
Yeah, I love that you said that anytime you were uncomfortable, right? Because the book tells us we drink because we essentially like the effect of alcohol.
Right.
And yeah, that was something that I always did no matter what. Before you got to the Magdalen House, like, did you know what your problem was? Or coming here, was that the first time you'd heard the body and the mind?
Yes. No. I'd heard it multiple times because I had addressed, I knew I had a problem. But I addressed it in the more traditional way of going to seek help through psychotherapy, psychiatrist, medication, the church. I tried everything.
Yeah.
And so I knew I had a problem, but I had, and I'd been to hundreds of AA meetings. But true to many alcoholics, I drank after the meeting and sometimes before the meeting. And I heard the words from the book and read the words from the book multiple times, but it's as if I was reading a novel. It didn't really hit home to me that I had a malady of the body and the mind. I had no idea, and I didn't discover that until I came to Maggie's.
What was that moment? Was there a certain line in the book, or was there a certain moment that you had either with someone you were in the house with or another staff member who worked there at the time? What made the book come alive to you? When did it become not just a novel?
It was probably day 4 at the house, and Lisa did the meeting, one of our meetings, and I already had respect for her because of the organization that she has helped build, and she described and explained the disease in such a way that it really hit home. I could understand it intellectually, but it really didn't hit inside my soul until I heard her message and the way she explained it.
Was there a certain part of the message that finally had the aha, or was it kind of that moment of like, oh wow, like you too, like I'm not alone in this?
Yes, and it was her, as well as the men who volunteer, who come to the house, who are in recovery, but have built an amazing life in spite of that. When I came to the house, I was hopeless and penniless and homeless, and everything that I'd ever earned or built or achieved was gone. And I think that that's why I was ready for the message at that point. But seeing those men who are clearly successful and happy and free, I knew I wanted what they had. And that's when the light went on for me that I can actually recover from this and have an amazing life again.
Yeah, it's for me, it was, it's not the fact that they were sober, it's that they were happy about it. And seeing the light in their eyes. And of course, anywhere I had been, I had never heard the model, but anywhere I had been, there were never people it wasn't peer implemented. They didn't have people who had experienced it, who had worked the steps, who would come back to say, hey, I understand you. I get it. I've been where you've been, but I have a way out if you choose to take it.
Right.
Yeah. And that was, I think, the biggest difference for me here and the community as well, seeing everybody come back. So how did you find the Magdalen House? Like, how did you first get connected here?
My best friend let me sleep on his couch. And he said, you can stay here as long as you want. But he didn't realize is that, to me, that meant as long as I want.
I've been there.
Right? And so he saved my life by letting me come into his house.
Mm-hmm.
And I told him when I made amends to him that he saved my life again when he kicked me out.
Right.
Because I had taken that lifeline and turned it into a lifestyle of sleeping on his couch and doing odd jobs and just making enough money to buy more alcohol.
Mm-hmm.
And he saw in me, his best friend, that my life was going nowhere and I had no plan. And he finally said, you need to go and figure this out. And so we're still best friends. But I give him not all of the credit, but the credit for showing that tough love. And I'd had that experience before, but it only turned into being mad at the person. But
right.
at this point, I was so desperate. I needed to find a way. And so I was living in a hotel. Mm-hmm. And a friend of mine who helped me admit that I was an alcoholic, I'd never done it before. And she came to the hotel and she read me a series of about 80 questions from some program that she had been in.
Yeah.
And I admitted, I realized by answering those questions that I was an alcoholic. And then I said, I don't know what to do next. I have no idea. I'd never been to recovery before. I didn't even know where to start. Her sister is an alcoholic and had been through the Magdalen House. And her sister made a phone call to someone who made another phone call, and just by the grace of God, I found my way to the front step of the men's house.
How did you feel when you first came in?
I felt defeated. I felt guilty. I was ashamed. I was confused. I didn't know where I was in the city, really. Even though I'm from here, I didn't really know where I was. I didn't know what to expect, and so I was kind of fearful about that. But I had a little bit of gratitude that I had found at least a chance to make a difference. And so thus it began.
Yeah. Did you, I can remember coming in and looking at the schedule and seeing 7:30 a.m., like wake up every day. And then like the 4 meetings. And I had that moment of like, what did I just do? Like, oh my gosh. Like it wasn't the fact that I was going to this treatment for 14 days. It was that I had separated myself from alcohol for the last time. And I can remember going into the living room of the women's house. And within like 10 or 15 minutes, we're all laughing. And I'd never had that experience anywhere else, but there was such a comfort in knowing that I was not alone. Do you think that you felt that in the men's house when you first got there?
Most definitely. And the men that worked at the house at the time made me feel very welcome and comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
And when they told me that they too were alcoholics, for some reason that gave me made me feel relaxed a little bit. That here are people that understand me. And then when I saw the house, I was excited because it was comfortable conditions.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I started meeting the other clients, I began making friends right away. And so with each passing day, I became more and more comfortable and was able to focus even more on what I was there to do, which I didn't even know what that was when I first arrived.
Right.
I just knew that I was in a safe place.
Yeah.
And that I had to do something. I had to remove alcohol from my life. And I thought that meant a life of boredom and drudgery and avoidance of alcohol at all costs all the time, that it was always going to be an uncomfortable situation whenever I went to dinner, or went to a party, or went to some family gathering, or what have you. I always thought that was going to be an uncomfortable situation. And then there was a gal that works for Maggie's who did my 3-day interview. And she told me, she said, if this pen represents your obsession with alcohol, she put it on the table. She goes, if you work these steps, by the end of that, and she swept that pen off the table and she said, it will be gone. You won't think about drinking. You won't think about not drinking. It just becomes a non-issue. And that was a light on moment for me. Because I always thought that it was going to be a struggle. And it really doesn't have to be. As long as you work the steps and do the work and do it as prescribed by the book, then it doesn't have to be a lifelong struggle. You can have happiness and joy and laughter and freedom after that.
Yeah.
And that was an amazing awareness moment for me.
Do you remember the moment you stopped thinking about alcohol, or maybe the moment that you realized you weren't thinking about alcohol anymore?
I do.
What was that?
I remember the exact moment.
Tell me about it.
It was the day I left, and I had fear. I had some unease about what I was going to feel when I encountered alcohol for the first time. And as I was walking to the next step of my recovery journey, I was walking on Ross Avenue, and there was a liquor bottle on the sidewalk, and I looked at it with indifference, and I think I even may have kicked it, and it felt so good to do that, and it didn't raise up any desire to drink again at all. It actually made me very happy that I was able to see that, kick it out of my life, almost literally, and so. I entered the next phase of my recovery with a lot of confidence and gratitude that I didn't have that obsession anymore.
Yeah, that's it. It sounds like your step one experiences really kind of, and just seeing the familiarity of the problem in other people, right? Because one problem, one solution, knowing that you weren't alone. So did you just start in on the steps right away?
Yes, I started right away. In fact, the place where I went required that you get a job I was jobless, required that you get a job within 2 weeks. Well, I made the decision that I was going to spend all of my time working the steps, and which may have been a mistake, but I put that first. I was put on a contract, they call it, and they said, if you don't have a job within a week, you have to leave here. Well, I was desperate, but I was also desperate to continue working the steps. So the night before they were going to ask me to leave, I got a job.
Oh, yay.
And that's just a God thing for me. But I was really thankful that I had spent about 8 to 10 hours a day for 2 weeks focused on the steps as I worked through them. And it really served me as I continued to work and build a life around recovery.
Yeah, it's like the book says, take the action. You have to take action for God to start working in your life. Yeah. Was there any step or anything that you were like, I don't know about that one, or I'm not sure, you maybe had some dread about? Like, I know people can get nervous with the 4th step or the 5th step, or even making amends. Did you find any of the steps, I don't want to say difficult, but were you nervous about any of the steps?
Yes, the one that I think it's common with a lot of alcoholics, the one that loomed on the horizon that I was kind of nervous about was step 9, making amends, because I had destroyed a lot of relationships and built a lot of resentments with people that I dearly loved and who loved me. And so the nervousness began to subside as I got into step 8 and then began planning exactly how I was going to execute the amends process. That brought a lot of comfort to me because not knowing how to do it in the early part of my recovery, that made me nervous. Just the unknown.
Right.
But having the plan in place and actually writing out what I was going to say, once I got through the first couple of amends and they went very, very well, I began to relax.
Yeah.
And so it didn't become a problem anymore. But it did make me nervous as it was out in front of me.
Right. Yeah. They tell us the more uncomfortable you are, the closer to God you get.
That's
Did you?
right.
Yeah. Did you
That's
find
for
that
sure.
true?
I did find that true.
You know, they always use the phrase like, "What was my pain is now my purpose." Did you have anything, or have you experienced anything either in recovery or before recovery that is now, you can help, like maybe you were ashamed of, or like you can use it to help other people?
Well, I think for me, as a man, it was very difficult to just step one, just to admit.
Mm-hmm.
Our society puts these roles on men that you have to be the rock of the family, and that you have to bring home, the bread, if you will. And that's not always true, but as a man, you feel like that if you admit that you have failed in this incredible way, that you are no longer worthy of society or even being a man anymore. And so what I learned, though, is that when you do that, it shows an incredible amount of strength and courage to make that admission. I always thought that I was going to be weak by admitting that I was defeated by this condition. But I felt so much stronger after I finally admitted it. It was such a relief that, now I've admitted it. Now I can take steps to fix it, or to get better. And that's the only way I'm going to be able to reclaim my life. So I think what I've witnessed in the house is that men come in when they're at the very last possible desperate moment. Many of them come in with bad health conditions and emotional conditions, because that loss of their ability to care for their family and their loved ones is really, really damaging to your soul, as a man. And but what's so beautiful about the Magdalen House experience is that when you come in and you see other men who have made that admission and who want help, all of a sudden you don't feel so alone. You feel like, there are other men that feel this way and who are having this experience or have this disease, and together our strength we can get over it.
Yeah, that's beautiful, and there is so much stigma around that, and it's true. I mean, admitting defeat is the most empowering thing that you can do in recovery.
Well, it's true, and the other thing that I realized at the house when I was in the program at the house is when I went to AA meetings, I kept on being told by people, work the steps. I didn't know what that meant. And then it said, you have to get a sponsor. I didn't know what a sponsor was. I didn't know what it meant. I didn't know why I needed it. And again, as a man, you're like, I can do this myself. I don't need some other dude to help me, figure this out. And what I realized is that it's one of the most important aspects of this program is having a guide who has been through them before and has successfully found relief from the obsession and has found their higher power through working the steps. I don't know anyone who's ever worked the steps by themselves and been successful.
No, you cannot sponsor yourself.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
10-step with yourself.
Yeah, exactly.
So I know that people can have very different experiences with step 2. Either they come in like with the belief or without the belief. Did you, what was your experience with step 2 like?
Well, step 2, I had worked in the ministry for several years, and I had this preconceived notion of what my God is. And by the time I got to the house, I was very disillusioned with that belief system for me. And so step 2 for me came to life when I saw the man who would be my sponsor. He came into a meeting at the Magdalen House and he brought his 2 sons with him. And he began to, in a very real and in a very honest way, describe to the group of men who were sitting at that table all of the horrible things that he had done in his addiction. And with his 2 sons sitting there, his teenage sons.
Oh, wow.
And I sat there thinking, hey, your sons are right there. What are you doing? And so I asked him afterwards, I said, how is it that you can be this open and honest about all the horrible things that you've done as a person, and you're their dad? And he said, I tried to hide it before. And that took so much energy away from focusing on what I needed to do to recover that I failed several times. Mm. And he said, now that I'm an open book with my family and my friends and even my children, I don't have to worry about that anymore. And moreover, they are proud of me that in spite of being that person, I am now the person that I am. And I said, well, how did you do that? And he goes, step 2. Mm. I came to believe that there is a higher power that can restore me to sanity.
Yeah.
And I said, well, I want that. I want what you have. I want to be able to be all open and honest with my family. I want to be able to defeat this obsession. I want to be able to build an amazing life again.
Right.
And he said, this is the next step. And I said, done. What do we do next?
Yeah. Will you be my sponsor?
That's exactly right. Will you be my sponsor? And then, of course, he asked me, are you willing to do anything? And I said, yes, I'll do anything. I'll crawl through the street on my hands and,
yeah.
I'll do anything.
Yeah. I'll stand on my head and laugh.
Exactly. And he felt through my response that I was ready. And so he took me as a sponsee.
Oh, I love that. That's amazing. And that's what's so important about living out loud this life of recovery, because you never know who is looking for help or who, will get the help. Like, people could know that they can come to you if they are looking for an answer. And I think a lot of people kind of did that, and because you were very involved in the community after you left the house.
Immediately,
yes. Yeah. I, saw you at a lot of cookouts. I know for a minute you were the chair for the men's community group. And then we took you as a staff member.
Right.
So,
Right.
Sorry, men's community group. Do you think coming back and volunteering and being a part of Next Step, did that help you? Did that further your recovery?
Well, not only did it help, it was paramount.
Why do you say that?
I say that because while I was in the house and I was sitting there observing how other men were responding to their experience in the house, and also observing how the men who were coming into the house as volunteers who had been through the house before were happy and were there to help volunteer. And I saw the gratitude and the joy that they had by coming back and serving. And then, of course, the men who were carrying the message every day, lawyers, doctors, corporate CEOs. I never knew that men of that caliber could suffer from this disease in such a way that I did. And literally burn down their lives and then build it back again through this program. I saw that and heard from them through their own words that a big part of their continued recovery was coming back and sharing the message. And I didn't even know what that meant. I didn't know what Step 12 was.
Right.
And so I decided while I was in the house that I was going to volunteer, because I did not want to risk anything to fail in my desire to be a recovered alcoholic. And I saw that was their path, so I wanted to take their path. But what I realized is that it's true. You see a lot of men come through the house, they don't come back, and some of them return to the disease again. Some of them don't, and that's fine because they're following their steps outside. So it doesn't have to be Maggie's. But for me, because I made the decision to live in the neighborhood,
Mm-hmm.
I didn't see I didn't even want to look for another option. I just knew how I felt being in the program and that I wanted to continue to feel that way and give that to the men that were coming in the house. So to me, it was not an option not to volunteer.
Right. And you just picked up a year as well.
I did.
Yeah, congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah, what a full circle moment for you.
Oh, it's almost too much to take.
Yeah. Did you think when you came through the house that you would be a staff member witnessing and being a part of helping grow this men's house?
No. I did not know what I was going to do at all. But what I learned in the program is that it's one day at a time. And it's a daily reprieve based on our spiritual condition, right? And so even my family would say, okay, now what's your plan?
Right.
And my response became, my plan is to stay sober today. And I'm going to let God figure out the rest. I had no idea. I didn't even want to be a member of the staff. All I knew is that I wanted to be a recovered alcoholic.
Right.
And that I found that the best way to do that would be to laser focus on the steps and then come and give back.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the other part of me coming back as a volunteer. I just felt that it was my responsibility to give back to an organization that gave me so much, saved my life.
Yeah. I mean, as we've discussed before in previous podcasts, alcoholism is not my responsibility. I'm not responsible for the disease of alcoholism, just like somebody's not responsible if they get cancer. However, it turns into my responsibility to help as many people as I can once I have gotten recovered, to give back what was so freely given to me.
That's right. And I used to tell the guys when I would chair meetings, I don't come here and volunteer because I'm sober. Mm-hmm. I'm sober because I come here and volunteer.
Exactly.
And then I thank them for allowing me to come and share the message with them, and that they are a bigger part of the recovery for me than they know.
Yeah.
And so my hope is that they see that I'm sincere about that, and secondly, that they see that is a viable way to stay in recovery, is to come and give back what was freely given to you.
Yeah. What has been the most surprising thing about recovery? Like, was there anything that you struggled with that came up, or besides just like having this wonderful life, have you been in a tough situation and then not drank over it? Or, what has been the most surprising part?
Well, the most surprising part for me was how quickly I was able to build some very special relationships with other people in recovery. Going to AA meetings before I came to the Magdalen House, I didn't really especially want to mix it up with people that were going to AA meetings.
Yeah.
Now, all of my best friends in my life are in this program, all the best relationships that I have. And I think it at its foundation, it's because we don't judge each other. And people outside of recovery tend to judge a little bit people that are in recovery because they just don't understand. It's not their fault. They just don't understand. I did that.
Oh yeah, I thought it was a cult.
Yeah, and yeah.
Yeah, I thought people in recovery thought that they were just holier than everybody else, and like thumbed their nose down at people who were still drinking.
Right.
Yeah.
So that was a big surprise. The other one was just how much fun you can have without alcohol.
Yeah, that's definitely the most surprising part.
Right. I again, like I said before, I thought that my life would be boring.
Yeah.
And that I was just going to live a boring life in sobriety and then die. What I realize now is that in recovery and building the relationships that you have in this program, that you can have a happy and joyous life and build an amazing existence for yourself, even after all of the stuff that happened before.
Yeah. Do you have a specific moment that you can think of that has just been like the best part of the recovery?
Yes. The other night at the anniversary party for the Magdalen House, seeing all of those people that had been through the program with their families, with the relationships that they had repaired as a result of coming through the Magdalen House and then working the steps, was almost more emotionally touching than I could handle.
Yeah.
And to see my sponsee speak at that event, that's another one that I was not ready for, was to begin sponsoring guys who then sponsor guys who then sponsor guys.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't prepared for how special that would feel to see a guy who is going through recovery, who is the sponsee of a sponsee of a sponsee.
What about the Magdalen House do you wish others could experience, and why?
Well, as a staff member, I have the honor and the privilege of seeing men who come in on probably the worst day of their lives. And then to see the light come on while they're in the house, to see them feel more comfortable in their body, and to see as the days go by, as they become, as they feel better and better physically,
Mm-hmm.
And then to see the light of hope turn on in their eyes when they're in the house, and then to see them commit in step 3 to continue working the steps. That's not a moment in time, but it is a very short period of time. If you're talking about somebody who has been drinking for 40 years, if they can make that kind of progress in their life within a 2-week period, that is a miracle. And I sit here, a miracle
Yeah.
of what the Magdalen House can do for someone if you truly surrender to the process.
If somebody was listening to this and was struggling, what would you tell them?
I would tell them to not delay another day, and to call and to come into the house and let the miracle happen for yourself and your life and your family. Every day you delay, you're risking more and more your health, your wellness, your relationships, and there is no shame in admitting that you're an alcoholic. In fact, it will be the strongest thing that you do. The most brave and courageous thing that you do is to make that admission that you're an alcoholic, that your life has become unmanageable, and that you need help, and help is there. And all I can say is that if you want what I have, which is happiness, joy, and freedom from this disease, then you just have to take the first step and make the call.
Is there anything else that you want anyone to know about the Magdalen House?
I would just say that the Magdalen House exists to help people. And that is why I've committed what's rest of my life to this cause. It may not be the Magdalen House forever, but for today and for the foreseeable future, I want people to know that the people that are working in this organization could be doing any number of other things in their professional life, but they choose to do this because they want you to get help.
Awesome. Well, Craig, this has been fabulous. I'm so excited to finally get you in the podcast chair. Thank you so much for being here today. I'm very excited for this episode to come out.
I'm honored. Thank you.
This has been Recovered, Interviews with Alcoholics, hosted by Laura Wilson and brought to you by the Magdalen House. We hope you've enjoyed this podcast. Tune in every first and third Wednesday for a release from one of our 3 podcast series. To learn more about the Magdalen House and the services we offer, visit magdalenhouse.org or follow us on your favorite social media channels by searching for the Magdalen House.